Good evening, everyone. I hope that you have had a good day. Tonight, I wanted to try to install Swift on my Windows 10 computer. So this actually is a fresh install of Windows 10 on a VM that I have, just so we can go through the process from start to finish. And in the end, we'll get a simple hello world.swift program to run and see how this goes. So I've been pretty excited over the past day or two since I heard that Swift was available for Windows. I know it's been somewhat available for the past few years now, but I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about it. So when I came across it the other day, I really wanted to check it out. Now, I went through the Getting Started page on Swift and just pulled out the relative info to go and get it started. I'll admit I actually did try this once and it went poorly, so I've learned a lot. I think we're ready to go again. I'm starting fresh tonight and we're going to make this happen. So why don't we get started? First thing we want to do is install winget. Having winget is just going to make the install process go a little easier for us. Less files for us to have to manually download and install. We can have winget do a lot of the work for us. So to install winget, we are going to go to the store. Go to the Microsoft Store. And once that comes up, we are going to search for winget. And what we're going to find, I believe, is the app installer. So it's the app installer that we actually want that will include winget. So we're going to apparently have to do nothing. It is going to take care of it for us. Alright, it tells us it's done. It tells us it's been updated. Let's close that out and let's see if it's true. Look at that. We now have winget. Alright. So, let me adjust this a little bit. Make the font a little bit bigger. Alright, that should be much easier to see. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is get Git installed. So we are going to type winget install git.git. That should install pretty quickly. We definitely agree to all the terms. And we're off. Yes, we want to allow it to make changes. We see the installer going now. Alright, successfully installed. I hope that I did fast forward through that for you so you didn't have to watch it slowly go through and install. It took about a minute or so. I will do that for the rest too, so when you see it cut to being done installing, you'll know I just didn't make you have to sit down and watch all of that. The next we're going to do is winget install Python. Now, if you read the actual instructions, yes, we agree to those terms. On the site, it actually tells you to install a specific version of Python. I believe it has you do Python 10, and that's what this is going to do. But when I tried it, the way they had it on the site, it did not work. So after a little research, I found that you just install Python and it installs the latest version. Okay. Now that that's installed, the next thing we're going to do is download Visual Studio. This is going to download for us the Visual Studio Community Edition. So let's grab that through CRL, which is just a command line tool for grabbing, browsing a website. If we look at what's in our folder now, we see VS Community is on there. Now we are going to continue using the script from their getting started page to install it. What this command is going to do is, so you could do this manually, but this will avoid your having to go through and pick the right options to set things up. So what this will do is start the installer, and it will tell it when it's done, don't restart. It tells you the path it's going to install it to. It is telling it then what components to pick. It's going to pick the Windows 10 SDK, and it's going to pick the Visual C tools. So here we go, launching the installer. You'll note it's jumping right in here instead of giving us all the options to pick from. This will definitely take a few minutes to go through. You'll know how the option screens just popped up there and went right past it because of the command line parameters that we sent to the installer. Alright, now that that is done installing, let's take a quick look and make sure it is there. If we just search for visual, there it is. We see it. Awesome. Next step, come back to our documentation, is going to be to install the PHP library called 6. So we're going to, not do PHP, and so we're going to do pip install 6. So pip is really a package installer for PHP. Yeah, why am I saying PHP? Python. So pip is the Python library installer. So let's give it a shot. And that was absolutely horrible. So what I meant to do is install pip install 6 spelled out. So I have no idea what I originally installed, but there you have it. Alright, with the real 6 installed, now we want to install the Swift toolchain. To do that, we're going to go back to winget and install Swift toolchain. And this will likely take a few minutes while it grabs what it needs and installs this. Okay, yes, we want to allow this app to make changes. Alright, that is installed. Next, we're going to exit out of our command prompt and we're going to go into the Visual Studio 2019 command prompt. We're going to do this because we need certain Visual Studio environment variables set, some development environment variables that we're only going to get if we launch from that command prompt. And we're going to do that because we need to copy certain files from our Swift install, if you will, into the Visual Studio setup. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with this is, I hope this gets cleaned up in the future, but for now, anytime that you do an update to Visual Studio, I believe you need to do this again. So let's give it a shot. Okay, through trial and error, we are going to need to run this as administrator. So let's run the x64 native tools as administrator. Now that we've done that, let us do the first copy. Alright, one file copy. Second. Third. And fourth. Alright, so we have now copied all 4 files. With that done, we want to set up some Swift flags for when we try to compile our Swift code. So while we can do this, the command they give you is to do it in the command prompt. You would then need to do that every time. Instead, I am going to make an environment variable called Swift flags. So to do that, we are going to go into edit the system environment variables, and I'm going to make it a system, and I'm going to call it Swift flags. And for Swift flags, I'm going to take what's after the equals, and I am going to put that in the value and hit OK. Alright, so now we have Swift flags. Alright, so with that, if we go to our command prompt and echo Swift flags, we will see that it is in here. Great. Okay, now let's see if Swift is installed. If we go Swift version, we will see that Swift is now installed. So with all that being done, the next thing we're going to do is create a simple Hello World program and then compile it with the last step on our notes. So why don't we jump right into it. Alright, I'm going to make a directory for it, and notepads hello.swift. Right now I'm using Notepad only because it's a fresh install, very simple program. I haven't installed Visual Studio Code, which is my preferred code editor right now, or anything else on the system yet other than what we just did. Alright, so now we are going to make a very simple Swift program. We are just going to, well, I don't know if I'm going to print Hello World, but we're going to print something. So let's just type print, and let's just say, welcome to my program. And save it. Exit out. There it is. Alright, now let's see how this works. If we want to try to compile it now, we are going to use this command. So I'll type it in. So Swift C is the Swift C compiler. If we hit that, you'll notice we get an error because we haven't given it any files yet. So it's available. The flags that we just added to the environment variable, we need to include those here. So I'm going to tell it Swift C, give it those flags, tell it to emit or create an executable, and .o is the, well, we're going to give it the name of the executable, and we're going to give it the name of the Swift file to compile into that executable. And it has now created everything for us. If we look, we have a hello.exe. If we run hello, we get welcome to my program. So there you have it. We have compiled and run our first very simple program in Swift on Windows 10 on the PC. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more like this one, please let me know in the comments. If there's something else you'd like to see, also, I'd be happy to hear from you, and have a good day.